Okay, so we'll start on the floor. Have one of your blocks within arm's reach, just so you know where that is. And once you find yourself lying down on your back, again, take whatever you want here. So it might be constructive rest with knees together. You might kind of bookend your practice with Shavasana. Anything that gives you a moment to just settle down into the earth. And as you start to find your way into your first shape, and slow down your breath. And as your breath begins to slow down, notice any of the little intricacies that's associated with that. So as you inhale, how the air feels moving through your nostrils. As you pull breath into your lungs, expand out through your torso. And as you exhale, how your torso starts to soften and the air moves out of your nostrils. And we'll take a couple more like this. Soft, gentle inhale as you notice. And gentle exhale. So through the practice today, we're going to keep it pretty low. We'll be working with hips and hip flexors with some concentrated work here on the floor. If at any point anything does not agree with you or just isn't your jam this morning, don't do it. If you want to add on to anything, feel free to explore how moving your knees up or down or left or right might feel in your body. So really an opportunity to find space for you. And that might look different than the shape that I'm offering. So just know that's always the invitation, is to take whatever works, whatever feels best. Let's take one more collective inhale through your nose. And if you'd like, exhale out with a sigh. And take a bend into your knees if it's not there already, and walk your feet about hip width distance apart. Locate your block, and we'll start with the block on the very lowest height and the widest height. So this is going to go underneath your sacrum. Press down into your feet just enough to slide the block underneath your hips, kind of like at your low back, near the sacral part of your spine. And then again, let your hips get nice and heavy. And so you might choose to stay here, or you can start to extend your right leg long, bringing your heel to the floor. And as you do that, take a minute to notice how the front of the hip is responding to that new shape. If you'd like to stay here and breathe, stay right here, or you might start to hug your left knee in towards your chest. So if on the block doesn't feel good at all, you can take the block out from underneath you and do this exact same thing right on the floor. And take a few breaths here, right leg extended, left knee drawn in. And here you might play with letting your foot get soft versus with the right foot, that is, versus maybe there's an activation and you kind of turn the toes in. So find whatever position of your foot translates to a little bit more space in the front of your right hip. And take another deep breath in here. As you exhale, start to let your left foot come back down to the ground. Slide your right foot back in. So right foot is on the floor. And then extend your left leg long. So we'll take a moment to switch sides. Before you hug your right knee in, give your left leg a moment to find some space. And then if it's appropriate, right knee can hug in this time as well. Let your hips and lower body get nice and heavy on your block, on your mat. And take one more cycle of breath in. And out. Release your right foot back down to the ground. Bend into your left knee, bring your left foot to the floor. And then once more, press to your feet enough to remove your block from underneath you. You can set that off to the side for later. Walk your feet about a footprint forward, about as wide as your mat, and then cactus or T into your arms and start to drop your knees over to the right. So moving into a twisted roots. If this causes anything in your upper knee specifically, you might find your block again and bring a block under that left leg. I find that can kind of take some of the weight off the outside line of the left knee. Alternatively, if that knee is feeling okay, you might take your right foot and hook the pinky blade of your right foot on top of your left thigh. So not on the knee joint, but kind of up a little bit higher. And that can give you a little bit of traction, a little bit of weight to draw that left leg down. As you breathe, imagine you can breathe some more space between your left hip and your bottom rib. You might feel that all the way up towards your shoulders. And take one more inhale. And exhale. If you have the bind of your feet, release your right foot. Engage your core slightly so you've got some concentrated effort in the midline to support your back, and then bring your knees back up to neutral. Take a full breath in at center. Let your hips neutralize, let your spine neutralize. And then when you're ready, start to drop both of your knees over towards the left. So same variations. You might take the same shape here. You might take something a little bit different. You can set up a block. This time you might take your left foot, pinky blade side hooks on top of the right outer thigh. And again, that's just to give a little bit of weight and traction into the outer line of your hip here. And take one more cycle of breath in. As you exhale, release any binds that you might have. Engage through center, come back up to neutral. And again, give your spine, give your hips a moment at center. Hug both knees in towards your chest. You can keep them together or keep them wide. Take some circles or some rocks here. This time, massaging out through your lower back. And bring both of your feet back down to the floor. Left foot stays down. Extend your right leg tall towards the ceiling. Really think of pressing out through your heel without locking out through that knee joint. And then turn your right toes out, heel in. Bend into your right knee, right ankle to left thigh. Right hand can come onto your thigh. And just like we use our foot to find traction, finding your hand to give yourself a little more space. So think of finding space in that right hip, from your hip to your rib. Stay here and breathe. You might take your block underneath your left foot to lift up, or you might start to hug it in. And if you have sore hips or sore glutes, this one might feel pretty intense. So just take your time. I like to give myself a little rock to get into it. And then breathe into your right side glute, hip area. It might feel good here. Always the option to take your left heel towards the ceiling as well. And then if you are feeling a lot of sensation, I laugh because I am. So if you're feeling a lot of sensation in that right leg, really see if you can soften. Tendency sometimes is to feel the sensation and then our body kind of clenches or tightens to protect us. So see if you can kind of soften into that space and see if the sensation dissipates a bit. And then if you have your left leg high, go ahead, rebend into your left knee, bring the sole of your left foot to the floor, slide your right knee on top. So now we have an eagle wrap of the legs. Draw your feet towards one another. So like you're hugging your shin bones together. That's going to give the outer hips a little bit more space. And then hug your eagle wrapped legs in towards your chest. Hands can be on each shin. Maybe you bring your hands onto your left shin, and then you can stay here and rock, take some circles. You can stay here and breathe, or start to take your feet away from each other. So feet are moving to left and right sides. Slide your hands down your shins, grab onto your shins or ankles, and very gently draw your feet back towards you. Again, notice if your body wants to start to tighten, can you soften a little bit to move into the shape? And take one more inhale. And exhale. Release the bind of your hands if you have it. Bring your feet back towards one another. Set your left foot back down onto the ground. Cactus or T into your arms. Scoot your hips just a little bit to the right. And then drop your knees to the left. So another twist, this time with an eagle wrap. If this wrap doesn't feel good for whatever reason in your body, ditch it. You can always take a block underneath your knee here. Again, that can be really nice and supportive, so you can find space to soften. And we'll take 3 more breaths. At the base of your third exhale, go ahead, bring your knees back to center. Press into your left foot, scoot your hips back to neutral. Keep your legs as they are, but take your arms and take your left arm over your right arm. So now you've got a single or double wrap in your upper body. And then lift your legs up so they're about 90 degrees. Hug your feet towards one another. As you inhale, send your hands away, send your feet away. And as you exhale, contract through your belly so you can hug elbows up towards knees. Nice. Inhale, send everything away from midline. And as you exhale, hug everything back in. We'll take 2 more here. Inhale, move front and back. Exhale to center. 1 more. Inhale, front and back. Exhale, center. Release your head back down to the ground, unravel your arms. Release your left foot down to the ground, re-extend your right leg high. And then point your right toes, trace the ceiling, reach forward, 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 and then down. Extend your left leg long to meet your right leg. Take your thumbs into a hook and reach your arms up and back. So give yourself a moment to feel a full body stretch from fingertips to toes. Big breath in. And out. Bring your hands back up towards the ceiling. Release your palms back down. Bend into your knees. And we'll take that series to the other side. So keep your right leg bent. Send your left heel high. Really think of sending the energy up through the heel first. Then turn your toes out to the left a little bit. Bend into your left knee, left ankle to thigh. Left hand onto your leg, give yourself a little press forward, and imagine you can open up more space in that left hip. Stay here and breathe. This time your right foot might find a block. You might start to hug your right knee in. Interlace your hands behind your thigh. And again, you stay in stillness. Maybe you take some circles or some rocks. Really breathe into that left outer hip, left glute. And then check in with sensation. How do you interact with that? And notice as you send your breath to that space, again, does it start to soften? Maybe you take your right heel tall towards the ceiling on this side. If your right leg's extended, re-bend. Sole of your right foot finds the floor. Slide your left knee on top of your right knee. Again, hug your ankles together. So find the eagle wrap in your body first. Stay right here and breathe, or you might start to hug your knees in toward your chest. Stay here and breathe, or start to send your feet away from each other. So now there's like this external rotation of the hips. Slide your hands down your shins, maybe towards your feet or ankles. Mine are about midline on shins. So wherever you find some space, you can take a few breaths here in stillness or movement. Really come into your breath to send it to any spaces that need a little extra TLC. And then start to bring your feet back toward one another. Release your right foot back down to the ground. Cactus or T into your arms, scoot your hips just a bit to the left, and let both of your knees fall over to the right. So same options here. You might set up with a block or a blanket. Gaze can stay up or turn towards the left hand. And 4 cycles of breath. At the base of your last exhale, engage through center, come back up to neutral. Scoot your hips back towards a center space, and then hug your knees back in. Keep them about 90 degrees. This time, right elbow over left, single or double wrap for your eagle. Send your feet forward, send your palms back, so moving away from midline. And then as you exhale, contract your front body, abdominals, to start to pull everything into midline. 3 more times. Inhale as you move forward and back. Exhale as you draw to center. 1 more. Inhale. Exhale. I think I lied. 1 more here. Inhale. And exhale. Come back to neutral. Release your arms back down. Release your right foot to the ground. Send that left heel high. And then point your left toes. Again, really take your time to press up, forward, and down. Like you can get your leg as long as possible here. Once your left foot finds the floor, let your right leg reach out to meet it. Hook your opposite thumb on top. Send your palms to the ceiling and then reach your arms up and back. Full stretch through your side ribs, full stretch through your arms and legs. Big breath in. And out. Inhale your arms back up to center. Release your hands down by your sides. Bend into both of your knees and scoot yourself so you can roll to one side and press yourself all the way up to tabletop. We made it to the floor. We're up to tabletop. All right. So once you find your tabletop, always set up your foundation first. So shoulders over wrist, hips over knees. Press down through the tops of your feet. As you inhale, extension of your spine. So think of sending your tail back, gaze forward. It might not feel as big as a drop, but we're really looking for length today. And then as you exhale, contract through your navel, round in, breathe into your upper back. Twice more like this. Inhale, find some space. And then exhale, find your strength. 1 more here. Inhale. And exhale. Come back to center. Scoot your left shin in just a little bit more towards midline. So it's kind of in from the hip a little bit. And then send your right leg back. Turn your right toes down. Draw in on the low abdominals. Find some length here. And then bend into your right knee. Yep. Lift your right foot a little bit more towards the ceiling. And then tuck your right knee behind your left knee. And then inhale back up. Exhale, tuck the right knee behind. Last one, inhale, little lift. Exhale to tuck. Inhale, bring your knee back in line with your hip. Keep your right leg lifted. Extend your right leg long. Bring your right toes to the ground behind you. Step your left foot back to meet it, high plank, all the way up and back, downward facing dog. So take a few breaths to move through your down dog. You can pedal, you can shake. And then start to drop your knees back down to the floor. Readjust your foundation. And this time, scoot your right shin in a little bit more towards center, like you're pulling it towards your belly button a bit more on the floor. Send your left leg back, toes down, heel extends. Find some space in the front of that left hip. Bend into your left knee. And then inhale, little lift. Yes. Exhale, tuck your left knee behind your right. Inhale, lift. Exhale, tuck. One more, inhale. Exhale. Inhale, lift your knee to about hip height. Re-extend your left leg long, nice. Left toes find the floor. Step back to your high plank. Send your hips high, downward facing dog. Again, take a moment to pedal, to play, to move. And then send your gaze to the front of your mat. Start to walk yourself all the way forward. Feet are about hip width distance apart. Little bend into your knees. Let your head get heavy. You might grab opposite elbows here. Take a little sway. And release your hands down to the floor. Inhale, slide your hands up your shins. Press your tail back, crown forward. From your half lift, bring your hands to your hips, bend your knees. Use the strength of your legs to press all the way up, Tadasana. Nice. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale as you fold forward. Inhale to your half lift. Exhale, palms to the ground, big step back with your right foot. Drop your right knee, untuck your toes, and then heel toe your left foot out a little bit to the side so you can bring both of your hands on the inside line of your left foot. Here's where you might want some blocks. This might feel good to have your hands here. So we want to keep the knee over the ankle. So if you notice it's coming in front, just scoot your left foot forward and start to drop your hips down a little bit for lizard. So your hands can stay on blocks. Your hands can come to the floor. You might start to walk your arms down onto your blocks. So check out here if, I'll pivot for this, if that left knee kind of sways out to the side. We're going to work today with keeping it drawn in. So you can keep thinking of pulling your left knee towards your left tricep. Take another inhale. And exhale. If you're down on your forearms, start to walk yourself back up onto your palms. Wherever you are, tuck your back right toes, lift your back right leg, and then pivot to the long edge of your mat. You might bring your blocks with you for a wide leg forward fold. So your feet probably need adjusting to line up, toes and heels. Press your tailbone back, send your crown forward. And as you exhale, start to hinge from your hips. You can walk your blocks underneath your shoulders, underneath your head, anything you want to give you some space in the back of your hamstrings. And take another deep breath in and out. Start to walk your hands with or without your blocks back underneath your shoulders. Pivot to the front of your mat, low runner's lunge. Step your back foot forward to meet your front foot, Uttanasana. Inhale to your half lift. This time as you exhale, refold. Press to your feet, reach all the way up. Exhale your hands down by your sides, Tadasana. Inhale, reach high. Exhale, take your fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, palms to the floor or to blocks. This time, big step back with the left foot. Drop your left knee, untuck your toes, scoot your right foot to the side so you can bring both your hands on the inside line. Yes, hands find whatever you want beneath them. Let your hips drop down. Maintain that stack of knee over ankle and maintain that little bit of effort of right knee hugging in towards the right tricep. You can stay upright, you can come down to forearms, anything that you want that gives you some space. Deep breath in. And out. And stay here for 2 more. If you're down on your forearms, start to gently press yourself back up. Tuck your left toes, engage your left leg to lift up. And again, pivot to the long edge of your mat for a wide leg forward fold. Adjust your toes and your feet. Send your hips back, send your crown forward. So you're moving in 2 directions. And this time you can either take a forward fold if that felt good, or reach your arms forward, tent up onto your fingertips, and really feel like you're being pulled in 2 directions. As your hips pull back, your hands pull forward, maybe a little space in the side ribs here. 2 more cycles of breath. Wherever you are, start to slide your hands back underneath your shoulders for support. Pivot to the front of your mat, low runner's lunge. This time, set your blocks off to the side. Step your front foot to meet your back foot, high plank. Shift forward, drop to your knees, and then elbows back, heart forward, lower to belly. Untuck your toes, elbows hug in. Find that length of your spine, right? So hips press down, heart lifts forward, and then release your forehead down. We'll take that 2 more times. As you inhale, unravel to a baby cobra or cobra. Exhale, release. 1 more time, inhale. Exhale. Tuck your toes, unravel any way you'd like, all the way back, downward facing dog. Take a full breath in once you arrive. Full breath out. Inhale, sweep your right leg up and back. Exhale, step your right foot through between your hands. You might want your blocks in the front here. You can bring your hands to blocks. Step your left foot behind your right foot. So now you're crisscrossing at the ankles. Yes. And then press up to a half lift. Bring your hands to your hips. Press down, rise up. Inhale, take your arms up and overhead. Grab onto your right wrist with your left hand. And then take a side bend over to the left. So big space all the way up your left side body. Full breath in. Full breath out. Press into your feet, inhale back to center. Return your hands to your hips, hips back, heart forward. Release your hands to blocks or the floor. Take a big step back with your left foot, but step it back so it's like in the middle of your mat. Set your blocks to the side if you've got them. Frame that front right foot. Step your right foot in front of your left foot. So now you got a crisscross down dog. Yes, okay, here we go. Locate your left foot in your head and then roll forward, left knee to nose. And then step your left foot in front of your right foot. This has been my favorite thing lately. So, and then bring your right foot, right knee to nose. Step your right foot in front of your left foot. 1 more time. Left foot, left knee to nose. Left foot steps in front of the right foot. And then right knee to nose. Step your right knee all the way, or right foot all the way between your hands. Nice, yes. All right. Step your left foot forward to meet your right, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale to your half lift. Exhale, fold. Step right foot back, followed by the left, high plank. Vinyasa of your choice, so maybe you drop your knees or not. Unravel one time to your back bend. From your back bend, tuck your toes, engage your center point, lift up and back, downward facing dog. Full breath in. And out. Inhale your left leg high. Exhale, step your left foot through between your hands. Hands come to the floor or the block slightly in front of you. Step your right foot behind your left foot for the crisscross. Inhale to a half lift. Hands find your hips. Really press down to your feet to lift your torso up. Sweep your arms up and overhead. Locate your left forearm and take the side bend to the right. Actively press, especially in those big toe mounds. I feel like sometimes the weight sinks to the pinky toe. So think of pressing your whole foot down. Inhale back to center. Hands find your hips once more, and then hips back, heart forward. Hands back to the floor or to blocks. Step your right foot back about center of your mat behind you. Blocks to the side, frame your left foot steps in front of right foot, crisscross down dog. So we're going to take that series one more time. As you roll forward, right knee to nose. Step your right foot in front of your left. Roll forward, left knee to nose. Left in front of your right. One more time, roll forward, right knee to nose. Right in front of left. Left knee to nose. Step your left foot forward between your hands. Yes, step your back foot forward to meet the front, Uttanasana. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Step your left foot back, followed by your right. Vinyasa of your choice. And we'll all meet in downward facing dog. Take a full breath in. Full breath out. One more. Gaze to the front of your mat, walk yourself forward any way you'd like, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, release. Go ahead, grab your blocks if you've got them. Press down, hands to your hips, bend to your knees, rise up, Tadasana mountain pose. Step your right foot back about, I'd say about halfway to a quarter. So we're gonna prep for pyramid pose. Feet are hip width distance apart. Sole of your right foot's on the floor, slightly turned out to about 45. And so notice where your hips are right now. Maybe they're a little bit to the right. Think of pulling your left hip back, right hip forward. And then engage both of your quadriceps. Find the stability in your lower body. And then notice if your left leg just locked out when you did that. Keep a little bend into your knee while still strengthening the quad. So a lot of prep just to get the leg stable. But once you find that stabilization, start to send your hips back. Keep sending that left hip back. Send your torso forward. So you get a lot of length in the spine. And then eventually your hands might come down to your blocks, to a couch, to a chair, anything that's within reach. And we'll continue to work with drawing the left hip back, drawing the right hip forward, and then send the crown of your head forward. So option to stay right here with a half lift position. If you'd like, you might start to bend into your elbows, start to fold over your front left leg. So yogini's choice, where you want the sensation. This is probably going to be a lot in the hamstring, into the hips a bit. And take another deep inhale. Exhale. If you're taking a fold of any sort, start to lift yourself back up to your half lift. Bend into your left knee enough that you can step your right foot all the way to the back of your mat. Yes, ground down through your right heel. So now you've got heel to heel or heel to arch alignment. Press down, rise up, warrior two. Nice. Settle into your warrior. As you inhale, straighten your front leg, reach your arms up. As you exhale, rebend, extend your arms wide. Two more like that. Inhale to lift. Exhale, release. One more. Inhale, lift. Exhale, down. Keep your legs as they are. Lift yourself up and back to a reverse warrior. Exhale, windmill your hands down. Frame your front foot, pivot on the back toes. Step back to high plank. Vinyasa if you'd like it, or straight up and back, downward facing dog. Deep breath in. And out. Nice. Let's take one more. Gaze to the front of your mat. Make your way forward any way you'd like. Uttanasana. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Press to your feet, reach to the sky. Exhale, hands to your heart, Tadasana. All right, so set up your blocks if you'd like them underneath your shoulders. Hands find your hips. This time, step your left foot back. So feet are still hip width distance. They might be even a little wider, depending on how it feels in your stance today. Press into all four corners of your feet. Micro bend that right knee, and then activate both of your quadriceps. So if we were to stay here, this would get pretty effortful in a little bit. Inhale to lift up, and then keep all of that structure you just created. Send your hips back, send your torso forward. Notice if the right hip wants to keep pulling to the right. Think of pulling back with the right hip. That kind of shifts you so hips are at midline a bit. And then eventually you might bring your hands down to the floor, to blocks, to any support beneath you. Before you go anywhere, think of tailbone back, crown forward. Re-engage specifically that back left quadricep. Notice if that helps out. And then you stay here and breathe. Or maybe you start to bend your elbows as your torso folds down. And wherever you are, we'll take 2 more cycles of breath. Press down into your palms. Start to lift yourself back up to a half lift. Bend into your right knee enough to step your left foot all the way to the back of your mat. And then pivot your left heel down, setting up for our warrior two stance. Press into your feet. Inhale, windmill up, warrior two. Yes. Once you find that foundation, inhale, straighten your arms, straighten your legs. You can look up. Exhale, rebend as you extend. 2 more. Inhale to lift. Exhale, bend. 1 more. Inhale. Exhale. Legs stay as they are. Inhale, up and back, reverse. Exhale, windmill your palms down. Pivot to the toes of your back foot. Step back to plank. Take a vinyasa here if you'd like it, or skip it and go straight to down dog. Full breath in. And out. 1 more inhale. Exhale. Turn your gaze forward. Step your right foot outside of your right hand. Drop your left knee, untuck your toes. Okay, turn your right toes a little bit out to the right. Option to bring a block under your left hand. So first option is to kind of take a variation of lizard with the right toes turned out. Drop your hips down, but instead of folding forward, lift yourself up, in which case you might take both blocks under your hands. Second option is to start to hug your left heel towards your bum. Send your right arm forward, so reaching in 2 directions. And then lift your right arm up, around, and back. You might find your foot here. You can also utilize the strap, wrap the strap around your foot. Use that, that could feel nice. And so press down into your front hand, press down into your right foot. And then if the hips are really low, this one we're gonna take the hips a little bit higher. So we wanna find some strength in the hips, just as much as we wanna find mobility and flexibility. Take another inhale. Exhale. We'll stay here for one more. Release your back foot or strap. Gently bring your left foot to the ground as you bring your right hand onto the inside line of your right leg. Turn your right toes to face the center. Tuck your right toes, or excuse me, left toes, lift your left knee. We'll turn to the long edge of the mat just for one Skandasana. So bend into your left knee and then pivot back to the front of your mat, low runner's lunge. Step your back foot forward to meet the front foot, Uttanasana. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, palms to the ground. This time, right foot steps back. Drop your right knee, untuck your toes. Turn your left toes out to the left a little bit. So there's just a little pivot out there in the hip. Yep. And then you might bring your block under your right hand this time. Yes. So you might go low and take more of a lizard variation with an upright torso. If you're taking the twist, lift your hips a little bit higher. Think of hugging your right heel in so you can pat up under your knee here. Left arm reaches forward. So we want to find those two lengths. Reach forward, forward, forward. Then at the peak of your reach forward, start to lift yourself up, around, and back. So that right hand might find the strap or your left foot somewhere. Really press into, or excuse me, your left hand finds your right foot. Really press into your front foot, your front hand. That's going to give you a little rotation. And we'll stay here for 3 more breaths. Release any sort of bind you have. Sweep your left hand back down to the ground. Release your block. Tuck your right toes, lift your right leg. We're going to pivot to the right, one Skandasana. So turn, then just your right knee. Pivot back to the front, low runner's lunge. Step your front foot back to meet your back. Shift forward, a vinyasa of your choice. Always the option to skip it and go straight to down dog. Full breath in. Full breath out. Release your knees to the ground, untuck your toes. Take a child's pose, either knees together or knees wide, toes together. Reach your hands out forward. Option to take a passive shape where you let your elbows get heavy, everything sink down. Option to take an active shape where you tent up onto your fingertips, hollow out underneath your arms and breathe here. So whatever serves you best right now. And then walk your hands in a little bit. 2 options here. We're going to take a thread the needle either from child's pose or up higher. So if child's pose gives your knees any sort of argument, come up to a tabletop and walk your knees under your hips, and you'll take thread the needle from this space. If child's pose feels okay on the knees, we'll take it from here. So let's start with the right arm. Thread the right arm underneath the left. Right side of your head to the floor or a block. And then left arm can extend long. If you're in a tabletop variation, you might bring your left arm underneath your elbow. So find a space that works for you. And 4 cycles of breath.
If you're in a tabletop and your left arm is long, slide your left arm back so that you can unravel back to tabletop. If you're in child's pose, gently unravel your right arm, send it forward, reach both arms forward, take a breath at neutral. And then whichever shape you're in, start to thread your left arm underneath your right. Come down onto your left shoulder, left side of your head finds a block or the floor. Settle into your twist and 4 full breaths. And gently start to unravel yourself. Come back to your tabletop or back to a child's pose for a full cycle in. And out. Press down into your palms, lift yourself back up, walk your knees in, locate your blanket, and come to sit onto your blanket. Okay. Soles of your feet together, knees drop out wide for Badakanasana. First 2 fingers wrap around your big toes. Inhale, lift up through your torso, and then option to stay right here if you'd like. Otherwise, you can start to hinge forward. Hands can stay on your feet. You might take your hands wide. And so giving the inner lines of your legs some space. We worked a lot in the outer lines of the hips and the glutes. And so now giving this more of an external rotation to give the inner lines of the legs a bit more stretch. And gently start to walk yourself back up to center. Extend your left leg out long, and a few options here. You can keep the sole of your right foot kind of hugged in with the heel pressing towards you. If it's okay on your hips and your knees, you can turn your right leg so it's turning out to the side, and I'm on the big toe mound. That can be a lot in the hips and the knees. So just know if this variation isn't jiving, totally skip it. And then left hand comes onto the inside line. So reach forward and down onto the floor or a block, right hand to right hip, and think of turning your torso first. So turning your right shoulder up and back. You might stay here and breathe. You can take your right arm up and overhead and start to reach forward towards your left foot. Big breath in. And out. We'll take 2 more here. If your right arm is up and overhead, start to lift it back up to the ceiling. Let that lift your torso up. Turn your torso to center. Adjust yourself so you can extend your right leg long, and either sole of your left foot bends in so your heel comes towards you, kind of lining up with your sternum, or you turn your left knee out to the side, big toe mound is down onto the floor. Right hand reaches forward and down onto the floor or a block. Left hand finds your left hip. And first think of pressing your right shoulder forward and your left shoulder back. So you're turning your gaze, finding a rotation of the torso. Stay here and breathe, or this time the left arm reaches up and overhead. You might keep walking yourself forward. And so your left hand is reaching towards your right foot. Gaze forward, gaze down, gaze up, whatever gives you space. take one more inhale. And exhale. Use your top arm to really reach up and back. That's going to lift your torso. Turn yourself to neutral. Adjust your feet so both of your feet find the floor. Slide off of your blanket and come all the way down onto your back. Once you find yourself on the floor, same options as when we began. You might choose to close with constructive rest, knees knocking in. It might feel nice to take your feet together, knees wide, for a supine Badakanasana. Maybe you bring blocks underneath your thighs here. Always the option to extend your legs long toward a more traditional Shavasana. And before you close, if there's any other movement that you need, please take time to move. If you prefer to close in an upright seat toward a seated meditation, please feel free to take that variation. And as you find yourself in that final shape, wherever it might be, once more come into that slow and steady rhythm of your breath. And noticing the feel of air as it moves into your body, how your body responds by expanding. And as your breath moves out of your body, how your body comes back to center. And so this relationship of your breath and your physical structure, that constant dance. And how by using your breath, you can start to find more space in your structure. And as we find more space in the body, the breath moves more fluidly. And so again, it's this relationship, right? One cannot survive without the other. And so honoring both so that they can move together, flow together, and create space together.
Begin to find an awareness of your body and space. And as you come back into this awareness, start to find movement, connection. And offering is to stay here as long as you need. If and when you would like to, you can begin the transition toward an upright seat once more. Once you arrive, allow your hands to connect together at your heart center, Anjali Mudra. And take a final moment here to honor your breath, its connection to your body and its ability to let you live in community. And so thank you for your practice, your time. Namaste.